Welcome to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Joyous conversations about what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about our one reality. You have nothing to fear. You are eternal and you are perfectly loved. Knowing the truth changes everything. Now, here's Roberta.
Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I'm so happy you're with us today. Oh, my dear ones, here again comes my obligatory confession that I never have managed to learn how to meditate. But our guest today is the remarkable Kelvin, who is a meditation star. Now, okay, some of us are good at some things, some are good at other things, and thereby hangs a tale. You can't be good at everything. Meditation is a wonderful skill for quieting and deepening your mind, and I wish I had ever learned. I just don't have it. Okay, let's be frank. I've never had the patience to do it. Some people swear by it. My husband tells me that transcendental meditation, which he learned in the 70s from the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi himself, who was, teacher to the Beatles, he tells me it's the only thing that ever helped him manage to get through life. But nevertheless, I still can't quiet my mind enough to do it. So I just lean on my spirit guide, Thomas, and he gets me through life just fine. Our guest today, though, is a meditation star, and he is our guest on Seek Reality for the 5th time. Kelvin is an author, a meditation teacher, a life after life expert, and his first book was, I believe now, I hope I'm getting these in the right order. It was called Overcoming the Fear of Death through each of the 4 main belief systems. His second book is Marcus Aurelius Updated. Oh, I hope Marcus didn't mind. 21st Century Meditations on Living Life. His third book is After the Afterlife, Memories of My Past Lives. And this was a fascinating one. I think that's the one we're going to sort of be using as our basis as we talk about how reincarnation affects us and how it works. Kelvin is the executive director and founder of the Turning Within Meditation and Overcoming the Fear of Death Foundations, and he is an internationally recognized meditation teacher who has been featured in Business Insider, Newsweek, and Kaiser Health News. He has taught meditation at West Point and in the U.S. Army, including on the DMZ in Korea. Wow, I'm just glad he didn't get captured while he was there. Kelvin has taught meditation to thousands of people in more than 60 countries, and he is a graduate of Dartmouth, Yale, and BC, or Boston College. We called it BC College School of Law. I went to BU, he went to BC. Kelvin, welcome. It's so good to have you back with us today.
Great to see you always again, Roberta. Yeah.
So we were talking about sort of what to talk about, and what I want to do, he knows a lot about reincarnation, and it's never been an interest of mine because I've been there's so many directions. I should sort of preface this by saying that you can go in this vast, vast world of afterlife studies, spiritual studies, meditation studies. This is like a whole world of related studies that you can sort of choose to kind of make your focus, but you can't do them all. It's like sort of like we're at the world's biggest banquet of information. You just can't do them all. So Kelvin has taken one sort of area or a couple of areas, and I've gone in a slightly different area or set of areas. And so we're going to talk more about reincarnation today, and Kelvin is going to kind of lead us. And I'm excited about doing that because I want to learn more about reincarnation, frankly, myself. Can you give us kind of a little overview of
Sure.
how reincarnation works?
Yeah. And first of all, I'll kind of insert something personal, which is how this happened with me was not because I was even interested in reincarnation at all. In fact, I didn't believe in reincarnation, past lives, whatever. I didn't believe in it when I started spontaneously having experiences in my mid-20s a long time ago. couple of decades ago, as you know. and
Very recently, right?
yeah, like 1977. But the thing is, I was skeptic of, I'm kind of basically skeptical about everything experiential anyway. I like to put it through the crucible of rational, does it make sense? Is there some way to explain and interpret these experiences in a way that does make sense? But back in 1977, I was meditating, as you said, for about 7 years then. Very easy technique, by the way. Don't try to quiet the mind. The mind will quiet itself if you allow it to, but we won't digress to there.
He has tried to teach me.
Yeah, I know. I've tried to teach.
I failed.
Yeah, you got to actually take the class, though. But anyway, so here's the thing. Reincarnation, I was like, what? People would talk about it. As you know my history with meditation. I would go to these big meditation courses. There's 500 or 1,000 people literally in a conference room and so forth. And during the breaks, you hear people talking about reincarnation, blah, blah, blah. Because, I don't know, there were a lot of people who were into it. And I was like, I learned to meditate because I was stressed out, and you know my story. I mean, that's why I was interested in meditation. Reduce my stress, my anxiety level, so forth. I was not into spiritual stuff at all. And then I started having memories. And the very first one that happened with me, I didn't even know was a reincarnation related experience. It was a bad dream. I had a nightmare. And I thought that was it. It was a bad dream. And about 6 or 8 months later, I started having odd experiences. Odd is an understatement. Odd experiences during a group meditation with a whole bunch of, my history. I started with TM for about 10 years. And I was with a bunch of TM teachers, and we were meditating in a group. There were about 75 of us in the hotel at the time. And we were doing energy movement exercises in addition to, separate from the meditation itself. And in those energy moving experiences, we'll talk about techniques, we'll mention, that what happened is I started having so much energy moving through me that one jolt of energy pushed me onto my back on the floor. We're sitting on this foam mattresses. And I flipped over on my back and I started feeling like I was being crucified upside down. My feet were behind my head and it was an energetic experience. I was involuntary. My arms were out to my side and I was reliving a crucifixion experience, and it was very painful. I had the physical, the emotional, and the visual, with my eyes closed, the visual images and so forth of what was around me and so forth. And it was a long, long time ago. That's all I knew. And so when I was out for a walk with my friend George after lunch that, several days later, whatever, I started telling him my dream, my nightmare that I didn't think was related. I didn't know was related. Telling him my nightmare, and he finished my nightmare. He finished describing it. And I said, wait a minute. How do you know this? That where I was, what I was wearing, I was on the side of the road and so forth all night and this and that. And he said, because I found you. I said, what are you talking about? You found me. And he said, I found you 2,000 years ago. I was the one who first found you the next morning. I said, what are you talking about? And he said, well, you for the last couple of weeks, you say you've been flipping over in your back. You in the group meditations, you're saying you're being crucified. You're having this experience. Well, that was from then. So that was the first window I had into this area that you and I are talking about today, reincarnation. So again, I say that to the audience because you don't have to pursue reincarnation. Sometimes in my case, it pursued you. It pursued me. It opened up. It was myself opening up. So let's talk about it in that context. Okay, so to answer your question, I think that we are a fabric, kind of you and I were talking about it earlier, and you mentioned at the beginning, there's so many different areas of ourselves that we could look at ourselves through different windows, different filters. And you choose to look at ourselves and yourself through certain windows. And I have other windows, and we're all unique and we're all different. And they're not right or wrong. They're different windows into ourselves and the universe that we live in. So there's ourselves, and then there's the universe. And are we connected? Yeah. But there's ourselves we're looking through, and we look through our filters or windows, our glasses, and we see ourselves in the universe. Reincarnation to me is just another one of those windows. It's not the window that everybody has to look through to learn more about themselves. It's a window. It's one of the many windows that we can look through.
Right.
For me, as I said, it just crept up on me completely out of the blue. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
And so after that, I had a slave experience where I was almost drowned. And again, that was even older. And I connected the dots with the experience, and I'll explain to you what I mean by that. But it was 2,300 years ago or 2,400 years ago, something like that, because I saw ships. So I knew that these were old ships. These were ramming ships. They had ramming apparatus on the front of the ships, and we were rowing, and I was a slave. I was one of the rowers on the ship, one of the hundreds of us on some of these big, huge ships. And I didn't realize at the time when I first had the memory, but then I figured out I was on the Mediterranean Sea, right? And in one of these battles. And then I saw in that experience, I saw an image of a thing, a ramp coming down from another ship onto our ship. So that's how I figured out that I was probably on a Carthaginian slave, because the Romans were using these ramps to come down, and they would hook on like with a metal, I don't know, it was made of bronze or something, a metal beak. They called them, the Latin word was whatever it was called, corvus, I think, which is like a beak of a raven. So because a hunk of metal would come down and hook onto our ship, and then across the ramp would run all the Roman soldiers onto our ship and then fight, so forth. And our ship got blown up with some tar or something like that, or whatever they lit. And I was on a piece of wreckage. That was my first memory of that lifetime, was trying to stay alive on a piece of wreckage floating on a huge body of water that I later figured out was the Mediterranean.
Wow. Have you always been male?
No. I know of at least one lifetime. I don't know how many out of the many, but at least one lifetime I was a woman. I have a memory of being a woman.
Fascinating.
But mostly men, I think. Yeah.
So amazing.
Yeah.
So do you have any memories of having planned a lifetime?
Yeah, actually I do. I have a couple of memories that I'm sure that I've done this many times, but I have specifically a couple of memories of several memories of a couple of lifetimes where I did that. And one is this one coming in, and then a certain family, my mother and I have an old relationship, and then 2,000 years ago, I know that I was part of a plan to come in with a whole group of people then. And then recently, meaning when I was writing the book, actually, this book, so as you said, I have 3 books, but the one we're talking about is this one, After the Afterlife. When I was writing this book in 2023, so February of last year, I was swimming. So what I'm going to describe to you, the answer to the question, this is an interesting one because it has a lot of different layers to it. I was swimming. I do laps. I swim, 3 days a week. So if those of you in the audience who have ever done exercises, whether it's cycling or running long distance or swimming laps, it's very meditative in a sense, because you know what you're doing. You've done it over and over again. It's repetitive activity and so forth. So your mind can kind of let go. When I say sort of meditative, in the sense that your mind can kind of let go while you're swimming. I mean, I'm not totally letting go, because I got to pay attention when I get to the end of the
drown if you're going to avoid it.
And you don't want to drown, exactly. But you're in this kind of more let go mode. And in that more letting go mental mode, I had an insight. This was in February 2023, while I was in the middle of writing the book. So I was already well into writing the book. And I had an experience while I was swimming of a memory, to your point, of being pre-lifetime of my World War II fighter pilot lifetime. So I was a fighter pilot in World War II in the U.S. Navy, flying F-4F Wildcats off of aircraft carriers in the South Pacific. Okay. And then I was killed, obviously, in that war. And then I hung out on the other side for 8 or 9 Earth years, and then I came back this lifetime, right? So what the memory that I had just a little over a year ago was being on the other side, looking down at planet Earth, so to speak, at what was going on. World War I was going on when I was on the other side. So I'm observing World War I, and I'm thinking that something's not right. This is not, what's going on at the end of World War I is going to create problems. This is what my mind was going. This is what I realized that my mind was going through. But here's the interesting thing. A lot of people will look historically at World War I. Those people who are history buffs will know that the Treaty of Versailles is pointed at very often by analysts as one of the creators or problems that created so much economic hardship on Germany.
It was punitive.
It was very punitive, exactly. And it was so punitive to the German people that some historians argue that it actually created an environment for Hitler to rise to power, or whatever it was, 1933 or whatever, right?
Yes.
Yep. And so but that wasn't my insight. That was what was interesting. What my insight was when I was on the other, because what I was remembering happened, what I was remembering in February 2023 about what happened in, I think it was 1917. I was remembering something 1917. The Treaty of Versailles, I think I looked it up after I got out of the pool and I went home. I think the Treaty of Versailles was like June or something, or maybe November of 1918, but it was in 1918. It wasn't 1917. I'm remembering something 1917, and it was specific. I was remembering how Russia, and a lot of people don't even know this, in World War I, Russia surrendered to Germany in 1917. Before Germany lost World War I, Russia surrendered. And that's what I was remembering. And I was thinking, oh, that's going to blow up again. The Russia-Germany thing is going to blow up again. And that's why I came back in, because I thought I'm going to be part of that to help resolve that. Yeah. And so, but get this, Roberta, where does that come from? That, I think, came from my knowledge of the discord, the huge discord, lack of harmony to the max between Russia and Germany for hundreds of years before World War I. They hated each other. And where does that come from? When I was a Prussian king and I defeated Russia in the 1700s.
But wait a minute. Why weren't you born in Prussia then?
What do you mean?
Where were you born?
Which lifetime are you talking about?
The most recent one.
Oh, the one in 1940s, 1900s? in the United States. I was a U.S. I was blonde, blue-eyed U.S. Navy World War II fighter pilot. But follow the thread here. What I'm remembering.
What you are now.
What's that?
Where were you born in? Where were you born?
Here I was born in Boston. But no, the lifetime before Kelvin Chin, I was a World War II fighter pilot, and I died in World War II. All right.
But what we are told, what I understood is that we don't recycle as quickly as you seem to have recycled.
Oh, you can recycle in seconds. Are you serious? There's lots of.
You can, but most people don't. Most people stay there.
That's right.
The people in their families have all come back. Happy reunion with your.
A lot of people will do that. Yeah, a lot of people will do that. But the bottom line with it, it's all free will. It's all free will.
So you haven't.
I've hung out there for.
Waited. You didn't wait for all your family to return in all of these lifetimes. You came back in.
Well, look, I have memories of a couple of dozen lifetimes that go back 6,000 years. So when you say all of these lifetimes, I've probably
recent lifetimes.
I've probably had thousands of lifetimes.
But the recent
some
ones,
of them I've hung out
on the ones in the 20th century.
Well, the 20th century one, just that one, I hung out for 8 or 9 years. That was the shortest that I remember. But I've been on the other side for hundreds of years at times, or maybe dozens of years, or hundreds of years on the other time between other lifetimes.
But these recent ones, you just went zip, 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 zip.
But we say recent ones, it's just recent one, the one.
Okay.
There's only one lifetime besides this lifetime in the 20th century. There's only one.
Okay.
Right? So the Prussian...
You were making me nervous there that you were on this roller coaster here.
But hold on. It's just like, it's a one lifetime. One lifetime. Yeah, one. Not a roller coaster.
Shoot back in. You were worried about the Russians and the Germans and...
Well, no. I think I was on the other side for 50 years before that one.
Okay. All right. That's more realistic.
Yeah, well, it's just realistic it's not real. It's whatever somebody chooses to do. So a lot of people, like you said, choose to hang out for family members and this and that. But the other thing that people don't realize is when they say family members, which family members are you talking about? Most people are talking about the recent ones. But what a lot of people don't realize is that when they die, there are hundreds, thousands of family members greeting you when you die.
Prior lifetimes too.
Oh yeah, the people who remember you and have been waiting for you, and who you don't remember until you see them again, and then you recognize who they are.
Oh my goodness! It's Great Aunt Mildred from 2 lifetimes back. I just love you, Great Aunt Mildred.
Yeah, or somebody who's they're not part of your DNA chain biologically.
Your friend from a long time ago.
Well, or even a family member from a long time, because DNA is biological.
Right.
We're talking energetic.
Your body, and the body's not here anymore.
The body isn't there, and they don't have a body. So that it's not DNA, it's not genetics. People think, genetics, DNA. That's all biological. Right. That's planet Earth, okay?
Right.
That's planet Earth's thinking. So back to the Prussian thing. See, that's from 250 years ago. The point is that
wish we had a diagram thing, because you're confusing everybody at this point.
Here's the teaching point. The takeaway is you don't forget. You can remember. Most people forget. Can you remember who you were, and can you take knowledge of the aspects of what made you up as that unique individual with you? Yes, we do. Even if you don't remember, the teaching point is, even if you don't remember, even if in the example I just gave, this is the takeaway that people need to focus on, at less the lifetime issue and more the fact that in February 2023, my mind, even if I didn't remember what the source was of the lifetime of the knowledge. The knowledge resided in my consciousness in 2023 still, of the discord between Russia and Germany that was old, ancient, that predated World War I.
Right.
So let's make believe I did not make the connection with my lifetime in Prussia as a military leader there 250 years ago. It wouldn't matter. What would matter is that I had some knowledge that came from somewhere. I knew where it was, but maybe somebody has had experiences. I bet many people in your audience have had experiences where they have knowledge of stuff and they go, how do I know that? I've never been here before.
Right.
Never been to this geographical location. I've never heard that kind of music before. How do I know that about this?
Right.
Right? That's the takeaway. And why do I say that that's helpful and useful for us today? I say that because it helps reduce our suffering and increase our happiness, because suffering is caused often by what? Conflict. And if we have less conflict inside ourselves, we're walking around with more comfort within ourselves. That translates to more inner peace. That translates to more confidence. That translates to more happiness. And I'm the pursuit of happiness, contentment guy. Right?
Right.
So that's the takeaway from it. I mean, it sounds complicated, and it was for me to piece together. But the takeaway is, how does that help me today in my current life? You know, and so increased confidence in me over the decades that I've had these memories has allowed me to withstand some very traumatic experiences in my 21st century life.
Right. So that got you gradually interested in reincarnation because you started having all these memories?
Say again? That's why I started getting it? Yeah. Yeah, because I like I said, I wasn't even a believer in it. I thought it was just a bunch of hokey stuff and people with phantasmagorical imaginations, you know? That's what I thought. I used to make fun of people. I mean, you know, but I mean, not to their face, you know, I was always respectful.
You were polite about it, right?
I was polite about it. I was like, behind their back, I'm like, yeah, these people are nuts. You know? But then I started having experiences. Yeah. So that's what shifted for me, because I mean, I look at it and I go, is there some other explanation for this? I couldn't come up with another explanation for why I knew stuff that I'd never studied. Languages, ancient languages, Sumerian. I never studied Sumerian.
You knew Sumerian words?
Yeah. Like, where did that come from? And then Lakota, speaking some things in Lakota about fishing and this and that. And I'm like, what? And I looked it up because now we have the internet. So I can like remember, like, I started babbling some stuff. I started speaking Hebrew once in a group meditation, you know, decades ago. And this guy came up to me afterwards and he said, you know what you're saying, right? And I said, no. I said, am I saying something? He said, yeah, I was speaking things about God and Hebrew and Yahweh and stuff. And I'd never heard of Yahweh before. But anyway.
Wow.
How do you explain that, you know?
Okay, so let's try to help people, giving them some takeaways from our conversation.
Yeah.
Let's help people understand what it is we're really saying. I mean, everyone reincarnates. So I think can't we say that's a universal?
I could say that they could choose to if they want to. They don't. I think here's a fundamental point. You can come back if you want to, and you don't have to if you don't want to. This is
nearly everybody wants to, because everybody is hungry to grow spiritually. And there isn't really a way to grow spiritually when we're in the afterlife, what we call the afterlife, because there's nothing to push against there.
Well, I think that's a good point. So let's talk about that before we go further, because it's so easy to, I'll reframe what you said. It's so easy on the other side That's what Roberta means when she says nothing to push against.
Living is easy.
Easy.
Yes.
Like you want something, you think it, you got it. And it's like, boom. So, and it's supposed to be that way in a sense because it's I call it R&R. Rest and
playtime. We got playtime here.
Playtime. Vacation time. Rest and relaxation. Rejuvenate. Because it's tough over here. I mean, hey, I don't have to tell people in the audience it's tough over here. I mean, hey, anybody, there's a lot of challenges, let's just say. And so that's what Roberta means when she says push against. So those things that we push against here push us each individually to either, we'll make it simple because there's all kinds of gray areas here, but we either rise to the occasion or we don't. We shrink. And that make it very simple. There's lots of gray areas in between. But so in that sense, can we grow and we grow by skinning our knees. Right? It's not always like, hey, it's not everybody doesn't have a silver spoon in their mouth all the time, right? So to speak.
There are a lot of ways to put it.
Yeah.
That which does not kill us makes us stronger.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, so I think that people come back for that reason. I think people also come back for the ice cream. They come back for the beer. They come back for the sex. And they come back and sadly, a lot of people come back for fighting. They like to fight. And it just look around the world. Hello. What do people love to do? That kind of sums it up. Again, lots of gray areas and so forth. But it's not like that on the other side, right? So people miss that. A lot of people miss that. So
most people want to grow. They would like to be able to
people can grow if they want to grow.
Most people cannot go higher than the third level, and it's more beautiful, and there's more stuff to do that is wonderful above the third level, and they can't go above the third level unless they can grow spiritually, and that's just the way it is. That's what they tell us.
Yeah. Well, the thing is this. I like to make a point to everybody that you don't have to come back, and you're not coming back as punishment. It's hard to find a body nowadays. There are fewer bodies being born by far than there are people who want a body on the earth. That's the way it is. It's a choice to come back is the point. So I like to get people to get away from this thing that you have to come back. You can hang out on the other side and on vacation as long as you want. I've hung out there for hundreds of Earth years. Now, the experience of time is different on the other side. That's why I qualify and say hundreds of Earth years, because it may feel a lot faster than on the other side.
Yeah, you can't feel time passing there.
Yeah, you don't feel it, but
it's no time as such.
Time is still existing in the sense that time is a measurement of change. So there's change that exists on the other side, but the speed of change is different from how we measure it here. So the point is, you could hang out on the other side for a long time. And to your point, Roberta, wait there for lots and lots of relatives to come, your great-great-great-great-grandchildren, whatever. There's nothing that says that you got to come back as quickly as Kelvin Chin did between the Second World War and this lifetime as Kelvin Chin. So There's nothing that says that you got to do that. No, you can hang out if you want on the other side. But people, as you say, they choose to come back within we'll call it a reasonable period of time, because of all the reasons that we just said. So, yeah.
And then we carefully plan our lifetime, and we plan our lifetime to have negative experiences, or what seem to be negative experiences, because those are the ways that we can grow. People will say, I never would have planned this. I can't tell you how many people have said that to me about all the negative things that happened to them, but oh yeah, they did. Because they knew that would be an opportunity to grow.
That's possible. That is possible. That's true. That also, people need to remember that even if we planned stuff out before we came in, nothing always goes according to plan.
That's true.
Have you heard that phrase before? I mean, I'm sure everybody has heard that phrase before. It didn't go as planned. Yeah,
right.
because there are other minds involved besides ours.
There's a lot of replanning that goes on during
Replanning,
our lives.
restructuring, everything. And the thing is, people forget that the world, the universe, doesn't revolve around each of us individually. No, there's quadrillions of other minds if you
It's
include
like
all the
playing
animals.
20-dimensional chess
Oh,
every
if you
day.
yes, exactly. It's like 20-dimensional chess, exactly. It's like on this planet alone, never mind other planets, on this planet alone of Earth, we'll just say focus on Earth. It's complicated enough. Quadrillions of minds because there's 8 billion humans, and I don't know how many monkeys and dogs and cats and horses there
Yeah.
are, whatever. There's lots of minds is the point. And is every horse or zebra affecting me very, very directly? No. No, no, but
Well, the zebras, they try to stay away from you, I think, right?
exactly, just stay away from me. But no, seriously, it's like, are they affecting the ecosystem that I live in and the air that I breathe on some micro level? Yes. So there's effects by everything, by everybody. And the example I give often in my classes is I could be on the other side with you, Roberta, in between lifetimes, say, hey, Roberta, this we'll say 100 years from now. So, 100 Earth years from now, we're on the other side. Roberta, hey, how you doing? Hey, let's go back this lifetime and hang out.
We got to plan a lifetime. Let's do it.
Let's plan our next lifetime and go to kindergarten together and spend more time than just, when we met when we were adults and the whole thing. And then Roberta and I look. Let's use Roberta and I as an example for the audience. Roberta and I are looking down and go, hey, Roberta, look, there's a family right there in Maryland. Let's go down to that family. And you go to that family. I'm going to go to that family. We're in the same neighborhood. And we're probably going to, and look, they're already friends. The mom and the two mom and dads are already friends. Let's go to those two families. Increase the likelihood that our plan, the Roberta and Kelvin plan, we'll call it, is going to work out. Because look, they're already friends. The families are already friends, and they're like what? They live like 4 blocks from each other. So we go down there now. We're just we're in the fetus form now because it was 9 months, right? So our soul goes down. Roberta's soul goes down on a family. Kelvin's soul goes down on that family, and then Roberta's father gets a phone call from his boss, and his boss says, by the way, we got this great opening for you over in Kansas City. Do you guys want to relocate? And Roberta's like 3 months in the womb now, right? And we're like, and so we could still be communicating, mental telepathy, right, from the womb to womb. That's possible too. And we're like, Roberta, I can't believe it. You're moving to Kansas City. This is not working the way we planned. And then maybe we get together in college because we figure it out.
Is though we each have a spirit guide, and they helped us make plans for this lifetime on things that we were going to do even as adults. So over and over and over again, our spirit guides are trying to arrange lives so that we will hit the marks of our plans later on.
Yeah. So I have experiences with that, with exactly what Roberta's talking about. And so I call them whispers. Do we get whispers from the other side? Yeah, we have lots of friends. We have more than one spirit guide. I mean, some people have like a main spirit guide, whatever. But I have hundreds. I have thousands of my old friends I know who do these whispers. And it's not always clear to me which one, but they're whispering to friends and so forth. And people get guided to me, as you know, in my work today that I do with fear of death and dying and meditation and so forth, and helping people with, understanding the afterlife. People will contact me and they'll tell me that they got whispered to and they don't know how. They reached out to me, and some people who are more tuned in, like you are, Roberta, they'll contact me and they'll know that they get, last night they got a message to call me, Kelvin Chin. So there are whisperings going on, like you say. That's what I call them. And so they to try to help.
When I was leaving college, I was desperately in love with this guy who wanted me to go to California with him.
Mm.
And I almost did, but I didn't.
This is when you were leaving Smith?
Leaving, graduated from
Kidding?
Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I almost did, but at the last minute I said, no, you're just a little bit too, this was the 60s, right? You're just a little bit too far left for me. He thought I wanted to go join the revolution with him. Maybe not.
You were too far left for him. Is that what you said?
I was too far. No, he was too far left for me. Sorry.
He was too far left. Okay.
Yeah. So I said, no, I'm not going to go join the revolution with you. Not this time. So, but I was still in New York City. So they had to somehow get me to go to Boston. They did. 3 days later, after I moved to Boston, the people I was rooming with, I moved in with two girls, and they took me to a mixer. I walked into the mixer. In that dark room, there was one boy who had a halo around his entire body. What do? I went over to start talking to him. I've been married to him for almost 50 years. So think of what my spirit guide had to do to make that work.
Yeah.
He was when I was supposed to marry. I almost went to California.
Yeah. So he was whispering to you, and he was whispering to your husband to go to this thing, and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. I mean, these are the things they do to make our plans work. They have to keep pushing and pushing and pulling at the people we beforehand, before we were making the plans. We're making the plans work, and they will do it over and over and over again.
And the thing is, the other thing take away from this, in addition to what Roberta's saying, is that, and sometimes people will listen to these whisperings, and sometimes they won't. So there's no guarantee that they may have to whisper again to somebody else, and so forth and so on. It doesn't always work exactly the way people plan. That's the takeaway, I think. And so it's not to say don't plan, it's to say understand. I think there's several takeaways. One is understand that it doesn't always, you don't just plan once and then that's it, because I hear a lot of that. But there's sometimes replanning, to use Roberta's word. There's replanning that needs to go on. And the other thing is persistence, because persistence is an attribute that not everybody has. People will persist for a little while and then they give up. No, if you really want something to happen, sometimes you have to replan and be persistent many times. That's just true of life, not just in terms of what we're talking about now, of course, right?
But if you miss some major turn, they'll make a different person be the right person.
Yeah, that can happen. It can happen. Yeah.
So, that's just the way it is. But no, it is fascinating how we keep planning throughout our whole lives unconsciously. I mean, because we're at those planning sessions when they happen during the night. We don't have a memory of being there, but we are there, and with our planning with our guides who are helping us get through our lives. I have one major guide. I know there are others that work with him. At one time, I was told there were 11 actively working in my life right at that time.
Yeah, it is all different numbers, and different numbers come and go, you could say, even.
Yes, exactly. They're right. There are
not like there's only this much, it's like no,
it's just for a season or a reason they will come into our lives and not be there
much
again.
More fluid than people I think realize, because people like the things to be very specific. It's more fluid. It's like anything in life. I want to mention something that you'll probably run with this, but you said at the beginning about this book, my second book, you made a comment, Roberta, when you introduced Marcus Aurelius Updated.
I hope Marcus doesn't mind you updated him.
Hope Marcus doesn't mind. So I'm Marcus.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I don't mind.
Okay. Well, that's very good of you.
So that's a memory that's one of my memories. And so I don't say that in that book. That was I say it in my third book, but I don't say it in my second book because it was a breadcrumb I was putting out there. So, and one of the things, if you look at this book, at the beginning of this book, I'm going to explain something to the reader, to the audience that it's not stated anywhere. So that your audience is going to be get an inside scoop here. So there's an introduction here. The very first part of this book, before I get into the 67 essays that I wrote about different concepts, love and acceptance and self-interest and spirituality and happiness and forgiveness and all these different essays I wrote. Before I got into that, I wrote an introduction here, a couple of page introduction about two people in history who have a very unusual connection. And that was Frederick II of Prussia and Marcus Aurelius, 1600 years earlier. So one Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius, known as a philosopher and last of the five good emperors, what they call the good emperors of Rome, in the 2nd century, and in the 18th century, Frederick II. And so I talk about an unusual connection. And the reason, and I don't say this in this purple book, this is the scoop for people in the your audience who are hearing this. The scoop is that those are both of my lifetimes, but I don't say that in my purple book. I say it in my third book. But in my purple book, this Marcus Aurelius updated book, I don't make a connection between myself and those characters, those other personalities. But yeah, I remember being Marcus. And so a lot of what the ideas that I talk about in my 67 essays here are extrapolations and nuanced, a more nuanced discussion of a lot of ideas that I started talking about in the 2nd century, that I've expanded on. And some of them are the same, like something that those students who've studied with me in the 20th and 21st century, Kelvin Chin lifetime, have heard me say this many, many times. Control what we control and let go of what we cannot control. And that's one of Marcus Aurelius's themes throughout many of his self-reflections. So first of all, Marcus Aurelius's meditations were never meant to be a book. They were self-reflections of Marcus talking to himself, and about how he viewed the universe. They were collected in around 800 AD by somebody, and then they were published in the 1700s. Early 1700s, they were published as a book, and they were called Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. They were just personal self-reflections that he wrote down 2,000 years ago. Huh. But there's a theme there, and there are many themes that run throughout his Marcus Aurelius Meditations, that if somebody took that book that's called Marcus Aurelius Meditations from 2,000 years ago and compared it to my book from 2021, they'd see a lot of crossover. Be interesting.
Huh. Well, it is true that we carry forward our essential personality.
Yeah, our personality carries, as you say, exactly, from lifetime to lifetime. Our personality, our essential personality. Now, can it change? Yes. My experience is that it can change, and mine has changed over the millennia, the 6,000 years that I'm consciously aware of. I'm sure my lifetimes go back millions of years, but the ones, my memories go back 6,000 years. But it changed very slowly. Personalities tend to change very slowly because they're very ingrained in us, how we operate, how we think, how we emote.
It is astonishing. I've had 3 children and looked into their faces, and you're looking into a very old face. When you look into a baby's face, it is so astonishing. I don't understand why people don't get that and instantly realize they're looking at an old face.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm so sorry. We have totally gone over time. It always happens when we talk together.
That's okay. That's all right.
But I guess that sums up. I was going to ask you what you wanted people to take away, but that's a great takeaway right there.
That's right there. It's the personality traits that carry from lifetime to lifetime, and what can they teach us about ourselves? How can we look at that and then learn from that about ourselves to improve the quality of our lives in this present current lifetime? Because it's all about the present, it's not about the past. And then the people, you don't have to remember your past lives. All you need to look at is your emotional patterns, which are right below the surface of our thoughts and our actions. We have emotional patterns. You can look at them, and those are very much linked to our ancient past. Whether we realize it or not, doesn't matter.
No, very well said. Well, consider yourself hugged, my dear. I will. We're definitely going to have you back. I always love talking to you. So
Lots of fun. Lots of fun always, Roberta. Yeah.
Very big hug.
Big hug to you too.
And your website, I think, is turningwithin.com, right?
Turningwithin.org, because nonprofit.
.org?
Yeah, .org. My daughter is now teaching meditation with me too. If anybody wants a younger, more beautiful meditation.
How could anyone be more beautiful? Seriously.
My daughter, her website is turningwithinmeditation.com. So you were close on what you said.
That's where I got the. That's where I got the .com.
That's hers. Mine is turningwithin.org, but we both teach through my nonprofit. And people can just Google my name also. That's an easy way to find me, and they can find my books that way. And in my YouTube channel, they can find that way easily. Just Google my name. It's probably the easiest way. I have 4 different websites, and by Googling my name, searching for my name, they'll find all of that.
Well, I think what you're doing is terrific, and everything you do seems to me to be fascinating. So thank you so much for
one thing I want to say, Roberta, is that I do a free consultation worldwide with anybody. They just need about anything that I do. They just need to go on one of my websites and send me an email and schedule.
Okay. Big hug then. Thank you so much, dear.
Take care.
I don't know. I just always enjoy so much being in your presence and hearing your stories. But once again, my beloved friends, we've actually gone over time this time, as we always do when I talk with Kelvin. This has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. I'm so happy you could be with us today. Please never forget that you are a powerful, eternal being. You never began, you never will end. And when you get that, when you understand all the implications of that fact, it changes everything in your life for the better. Next week, our guest will be Carol Morgan, who will be with us for the 24th time. Oh, my goodness. She's been with us for actually almost probably 4 times a year for the last 10 years. Well, that's just about right, isn't it? I think everyone here by now knows their story. Carol lost her son, Mikey, when he was only 20 in an auto accident, only to learn after he had transitioned that Mikey is a 6th level being who had last died in the 1600s. And Mikey had come back because he was so worried about us. He wanted to teach us through Carol, which is something that, of course, I did not believe in the beginning for 1 minute. But I have tested Mikey Morgan 6 ways to Sunday, and he is exactly what he claims to be. Mikey Morgan is indeed a 6th level being who last lived in the 1600s and who now teaches us from the level that's just below the source level. We're honored to have him as our frequent Seek Reality guest. He answers everyone's questions. I've never seen him make a mistake in hundreds and hundreds of questions. He's a beautiful being. He talks like a 20-year-old person from our 21st century, but he talks with the wisdom of the ages. Please be sure to join us next week and meet this extraordinary and revered being who is just a star. And if you have questions for Mikey, you can just simply email them to me at info@robertagrimes.com. And this week, we've been talking with my wonderful friend, Kelvin Chin. He's an author, a meditation teacher, and life after life expert, and His books are wonderful because I've read them. I can tell you that. His books are Overcoming the Fear of Death through each of the four main belief systems. Marcus Aurelius updated, and he is the update. I just learned that. And also, After the Afterlife, Memories of My Past Lives. Kelvin is the executive director and founder of the Turning Within Meditation and Overcoming the Fear of Death Foundations. He's a meditation teacher worldwide, and he has taught at West Point in the U.S. Army, including on the DMZ, and I think that's funny. I don't know why I think it's funny. Why would anyone go there? But he somehow got out safely. He's always, to me, a lot of fun to talk with, and he's full of enjoyable ideas about how people can better connect with spirit and better connect with themselves, which to me is even more important. Now, as you know, our great friend Craig Hogan is the president of Seek Reality Online, which is your one-stop resource for all things afterlife. You are going to live eternally. A lot of people say they don't want to, but really, we don't have any choice in the matter. Your life is eternal. So go to Seek Reality Online, learn from the person who is the international expert on that topic, and make yourself ready to have that wonderful eternal life, which is just in front of you. And teachingsbyjesus.com is your single resource for all the beautiful divine truths that are brought to us in perfect love by the greatest teacher of them all, Master Jesus. Now that the Christianity that was started by the Romans, it was started by the Roman Emperor Constantine and not by Jesus, and now that it's dying, it's Jesus's turn at last. So go to teachingsbyjesus.com and learn the truth by the real teacher. Now, as you know, we have no time left for me to talk about it, but I have books too, and you can find all of them on my website or at Amazon.com. And if you want to talk about anything at all, just go to my website, and on the green contact block, you can contact me. You can ask me anything or say anything to me, and I always answer my emails, but just be sure you give me your correct contact information, because I hate it when I write an email to someone and it bounces because they never gave me their right email address. And all the more than 550 past episodes of Seek Reality are available wherever audio podcasts can be found. You can see the new video episodes. And actually, I suppose I do have a good face for radio, but it's not bad, actually, for video as well either. And you can find those episodes on Roku, Fire Stick, YouTube, and elsewhere. And this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Please enjoy and make the most of this coming week in our one reality, always knowing that you are a powerful, eternal being, and in the whole universe, you, most of all, you are infinitely, eternally, and perfectly loved.
You've been listening to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Roberta blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Join us every week as we explore what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about the one reality we all share. Knowing the truth changes everything.